Hello, everybody. Okay, so this episode is all going to be about strategies so I've basically been reaching out to more people. I got feedback from people who listened to last week's episode, and they said, could you share more about the spring strategies that you learned that had worked? And then I decided to seek out more. So I reached out to people that I follow, and I was like, hey, it seems like spring booked out really well for you. Is there any marketing strategy that you'd be willing to share for everyone else? And I just kept everybody anonymous so that nobody would be tempted to go and seek that person out and do any direct copying. So these are basically just kind of overviews of strategies. The other important thing is the family photographer marketing community is now open right now. So go join it, $35 a month. I'm really excited about it. We're going to do planning on Monday mornings. We're going to do focus groups about different things. We are going to look at other marketing that comes through. Like, you can post marketing in the group and get feedback, all kinds of things like that. So I think it'll be really helpful just to keep people going, because it feels like the marketing engine can get very bogged down with comparison and overwhelm. And we're also going to be talking about strategies and habits and systems. And so I am just very excited to pour nearly 100% of the energy I put into marketing help into that community. So I would definitely love to see you there. And I'm really excited. Okay, so on to the ideas. So the first one we kind of talked about last time, which is to utilize a fall interest uptick for spring. So it's like a next season booking incentive. So when clients book fall sessions, offer early access or bonus for pre-booking spring at the same time. So that way you can already there's this piece, and one of the reasons I love my Black Friday sale is there's this piece that comes with knowing that you have something on the calendar. So if you have found that you love motherhood mini sessions, for example, which I see a lot of you doing, you could have something like book your fall and spring sessions together and you get a discount on spring. Or book your fall session and you get a discount on your spring mini. And then you can set your prices to where you're not going to create any resentment for that. And you could possibly book out way more of your spring sessions in fall than you normally would if you kept quiet about spring. Okay, the next one is a seasonal client flow. So your fall sessions, you include a year of you card. And I kind of changed the wording on this to make it more generic, that maps out how you could capture a family through the year, spring, summer, fall. And you could talk about the value of this particular photographer really focused on a mini model, but a mini model that was very profitable. So she does more of an IPS situation where there's a set fee and then people end up buying prints. And the idea is, at the end of the year, she's met with them for shorter buckets of time in each season. And what she sells from that is an album that's like the year of their child's life captured through the seasons. I just thought that was super cool. And a completely different model. Again, a completely different model than just focusing on this one image that you're just capturing. Okay, the next person found a lot of success collaborating with local businesses. So flower farms, garden centers, spring markets or farmers markets, boutique clothing shops, or pitch in a collaboration, photograph their new spring stock, host a spring giveaway. That's something that is happening in spring, but you could begin the build up now. You could say you're planning for next year, and that will give you that runway to really build those relationships. Okay, so then a lot of people said one thing that they did is they just had it in their marketing to talk about spring all the time. So they started talking about spring very early in the year, and they continue talking about spring into summer and they were kind of catching a late spring vibe and trying to have that wording be very familiar to what they were talking about copy-wise with their clients. So a couple of people just said, one thing I did is I just talk about spring all the time. And that's not as clear of a strategy, but still definitely a strategy that can really help. You can also begin a countdown wall for spring, like during your fall season. So set up a visual calendar or a chalkboard of countdown to the spring sessions that are available. So like, let's say you do a system where if you're a family that books in fall, you get a spring session or a discount on a spring session. You could make a visual board. I've seen a couple, this is more common in like the course creator world. Like for me with my marketing membership, I'm going to send out a physical little card. And so I want to showcase those as they go out as kind of like a reminder that people are joining this thing. So you could do the same thing where you create a visual spring board where you're showcasing the people who've already got those spring sessions through your deal. And that can kind of help increase that feeling of scarcity that people feel when they also want something. And the wording and copy that you can think that would accompany this could be really fun. Like many times I was just walking with my client. I had 5 sessions this week, and 2 of them are fall reschedules. People who, and we all have this experience. Like they had booked in late October, we got rain, everybody got sick, and then the sun was setting at 4 and my weekends were booked and they wanted sunset light. So there was literally nothing left to do. And both of these people rescheduled to spring. And so when I was walking with her, she was like, oh yeah, it's crazy how nobody's here. Cause this is like a popular park that I shoot at. And I was like, yeah, that's one of the reasons I really love spring, because if this was fall, it just becomes like a madhouse. And she was like, yeah, when I was here with my family, we were just walking around and it was like photographers everywhere. And it definitely had this vibe of like, go stand in front of that tree, get your photo, and then I'm on to the next, which there's nothing wrong with that. We've all been in that sort of environment, as opposed to how even I feel at a spring session, which is so creative, so full of energy. I am not that I would never not give a family my all, but when I'm like when I'm in the last week of October, I definitely have this, like, I'm fighting to pull the creativity up from the depths of my soul, whereas it's like exploding out of my brain right now. And that's something that photographers all know, but you could find a way to really communicate that to families as well. So you could have a collaborator feature that you have every single week that has a big build up to spring. So each Friday, for example, from October through March, you're featuring one spring collaborator. So this would be somebody that's launching something in spring, that has something to announce in spring. You're doing a mini interview. This person has just found luck, like really tapping into other businesses that are trying to grow spring as well. They even had done a mini interview. A mini interview. That's actually an amazing word. A mini interview with a tax professional, and then tied it back into their photography. So it was like helpful tips for families for tax planning. And she had included that on her Instagram. Those types of ideas I just find are so interesting, because people are so much more interested in tuning into story. Okay, so then this person said that they utilized their position in their local school to tap into families. So it would be like they were there as a resource during fall, and then they put up a flyer just letting people know. And this is not my area that this person lives, so they have much more of a drier spring that starts a lot sooner. So she would really start to push out the spring content inside the preschool. She works at the preschool. She does photos for the preschool, and she's kind of tried to limit herself in doing a ton of just like Christmas card type photos for the school. She does back to school stuff for them. So like preschool portraits, and then she pushes spring. And that's kind of how she has, with this audience that she already has really high trust with, have tried to move those families into their norm being that what they get during the fall is a back to school portrait, and the family work is done in spring. So I was like, oh, that's actually really smart, because it makes sense for what the family naturally wants to do, and they're building trust with her because they're coming through the preschool and getting preschool portraits anyway. So I thought that was really cool. And then this person had been on a panel of people, and this is basically just kind of how they built up a new network of people, and then used this idea of, this is another motherhood photographer. So she is not motherhood is a year-round event, right? So it's not something where she's waiting for fall or her families are waiting for fall, because generally dad is not even included in those photos. If it's like that sort of like mom, dad, kiddo family, the motherhood session is completely separate. So she had joined a local mom panel, and it was like a group of friends, and they were all kind of working with mothers, and they would put on seasonal events for moms. I thought that was really smart. Okay. And then this one was a friends who bloom together. I changed the name of that. ChatGPT helped me a little bit. You can tell I like took her name and it was like, what is something else that we can name this so that no one steals this exact idea? So basically this is the idea that past clients can invite friends to book a spring session and both families get a benefit. And whether that's a bonus print or a mini gallery upgrade or a fall, like a credit towards a fall session or a credit towards a spring session, it was an actual printable card that went out, and it was like a promotion to bring friends into the brand. So the one caveat I have to that idea is just that, like I have always said in the past, that referrals, I really, really want referrals to come in through my website, because if they don't, then their past experience with previous family photographers can make it so that my systems, processes, and boundaries don't really work as well for them. And sometimes I find that referrals are like my least aligned people. I'll still photograph them and everything's still great, but I want them to come through the website. And that's why I like the idea of the printable card with a QR code that sends the spring referral person who's being sent the card by the friend to a specific page on the website that you could design for that. It could be like, welcome to the Friends Who Bloom Together campaign. Your friend sent you here. And then it can explain your process. Maybe there'd be a welcome video, something like that. So this is, I didn't want to end, this will be kind of my last hurrah of talking about spring, because spring is really upon us. So I didn't want to leave you with last week's episode that felt kind of like, I don't know, not doom and gloom, but like I do just want to have a realistic expectation of the amount of work that it takes to book out a season that people are not natively searching for. I always want to be honest. I always want to be clear, and I don't want to set people up to fail. So for those people who heard that episode and thought, well, what I want to do is lean into spring even more. Maybe you want more year-round income. Maybe you're just sick of doing all your sessions in fall and you just want to utilize spring more. If you fall into that camp, I wanted to leave you with some really fun ideas that you could try to implement in your own business. So I hope that helps you out, and I hope you join the marketing membership. And yeah, I'll be back next week with another episode. If you have any questions or concerns, you can always reach me on Instagram. Okay, have a good week.